Hello, we've got an extra odd impact weapon today, and that's out of a whole series of videos on odd impact weapons by this point, but this is a tear gas billy club, and yes, such things did exist. And this is actually part of a long tradition in the United States. In kind of the second half of the 19th century, inventors started patenting all kinds of variations on the traditional billy club. There was devices meant to help you retain it, help subdue a victim, help protect the victim when you struck him, all kinds of things. And the most notable by far, though, is this space age looking guy here. This was made and marketed for decades. The patent is from 1925, and these things were sold, I think, well into the 60s, at least until the 50s. So it was a successful design, right? As crazy as it sounds, because I'd feel a little wary swinging an impact weapon that might release tear gas, in the immediate vicinity. But it worked. It was well designed. And if you're wondering what it looked like when it was working, there you go. Got a nice action shot from a vintage advertisement. And how about that? Looks like it would get the job done, in fact, right? Two models of this were made by Federal Laboratories. You had kind of the blast or the spray. I don't know which one we're looking at here, but it looks formidable, right? This is going to cover a crowd, a small crowd, and you can see with the allure for the policeman here. You've got an impact weapon, the traditional one that they've been carrying around for a long time. It's got that leather coating, so it's kind of a sap. It's a softened billy club, at least. But it's a hybrid device because it combines a tear gas canister. So, still makes sense even to this day if you think about it. And you could have a, baton that has your pepper spray built in, and those are marketed but not very popular. So you can see the allure. As long as the design is sound and this thing functions properly, then it's actually a great idea. So here's another look at it. I love this. They're highly sought on the antiques market, probably because it's such a curiosity, but I think also because it just looks really cool. I call it in my manuscript a Art Deco lightsaber, right? It's what it looks like. I love the leather and steel combination, and it's a clever device, and it had to be a good design if it's going to put up with the rigors of use as a billy club without accidentally going off. So it has a very sturdy safety, as you can imagine. You see the long lanyard there. You don't want to lose track of this thing. And it got the job done over years. And it wasn't just by police either. Thousands of individuals bought it. And a lot of the information about this, by the way, comes from a guy called Matthew Forte. If you're interested in old police weapons and equipment, check out his books. That's definitely the place to go. Here's a look at the patent mark, and what's great about this is it's stamped into metal, so it's not going anywhere. This does not often happen with billy clubs, leather saps, that kind of thing, right? You're not going to get a lot of wear on the mark, so it's very easy to see, what the maker wanted you to see about which weapon this is. I talked about this being part of a long tradition of, hybrid invention billy clubs. But it's part of another tradition too, which is weapons that were taken away from police after a while, not because they were ineffective, but because of complaints. That's what happened to this one. It's what happened to the blackjack, the sap, and many others. Even the nunchaku, or nunchuck, if you will, that was used by police once in a while, but PR ended that pretty quickly. And that's what happened here. This thing, again, it's a sturdy device. It makes sense if a policeman has to defend himself against a crowd. It's going to come in very handy. It's better than using a gun, but just got a bad reputation and had to get retired. Looking back at the original patent, the most amusing aspect by far is that the inventor goes to pains to point out that it doesn't just have to be non-lethal gas that is used in this. He actually mentions that there's no limit on the invention and you could use lethal gas if you wanted to in it. Thankfully, no one seems to have taken him up on the offer or the possibility. But wow, talk about a lethal device then. When we saw that picture with the blast cloud, can you imagine if that was, actual poison gas or whatnot, like something out of a James Bond movie. Going back to the non-lethal gas, one can only imagine the surprise that many a suspect or assailant had when, they saw an officer or somebody else. These are used by security personnel and private individuals, as I mentioned. But when, some never-do-well approached someone, saw the billy, and maybe they were armed with something similar, and thought the fight was on, and all of a sudden were engulfed in that cloud of gas. That could not have been a pleasant surprise. Just like with pepper spray today, there's a danger here to the user, and that's that you will gas yourself. So you need to be very careful about which way the wind is blowing. If you're using it indoors, and they were carried by like prison guards and stuff like that, reformatory guards, you'd want to be really careful. I can't imagine it'd be easy to breathe once it got discharged indoors anywhere. So there's a downside to any kind of a chemical irritant weapon, but still, this is a very unique billy club, very unique impact weapon, and one of the few successful, quote-unquote crazy designs. Well, there it is, and now you know what this is. They're very easily distinguished, so if you ever see one again, and you weren't familiar with them before, you will instantly recognize the Federal Laboratories Tear Gas Billy Club. Thanks.